Bonjour, Kinamagian in Ireland Indigenicus, and welcome to this Math Tier 2 intervention. Today's episode, Math Tier 2 Interventions, Reteach 6.6. Looking at answers to last week's questions. And the key part that I want to point out to you is to make sure that you have the appropriate number of digits after the decimal point. This, for example, number 3, there are 1 and 2 digits after the decimal point in our factors. So there has to be 1, 2 digits in our product. Here we have 1, 2, and 3 digits after the decimal point in our factors. So we have 1, 2, 3 digits after the decimal point in our product. Number 5, we have 1, 2, and 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. And number 6, 1, 2, 3. However, this is a truncated answer. It's 29.880. You can cut off the 0 at the end. Otherwise, it is simple 2-digit by 2-digit or 3-digit by 2-digit multiplication. So let's look at today's lesson. We're going to multiply decimals by the powers of 10. And if this sounds familiar to earlier in the academic year, it's because we did do this with whole numbers. Remember that 2 times 10 was 20, 2 times 100 or 2 times 10 times 10 was 200, 2 times 1,000 was 2,000. And essentially, as you notice, if you remember, the number of zeros in your factors also had to be present in your product. But really, that was also an example of moving the decimal point and just annexing zeros to fill it in. Now that we're doing decimals, the same philosophy applies. So looking at the chart, 3.18 times 1 is 3.18. There's no power of 10 there. That's identity property through and through. Now going here, 3.18 times 10. 10 has 1 0, so I move it over 1 spot, and I ended up with 31.8. Going to the next line, 3.18 times 100. There are 2 zeros, so I went from right between the 3 and the 1. 1 spot, 2 spots, 318. If you don't see a decimal written, it's assumed to be at the end. 3.18 times 1,000. We went 1 spot, 2 spots, and because there was no third spot, we had to annex a 0 so that we could. So let's do a few of these together. 5.8 times 100. Normally, the first one would be right there. 1, 2. So it's 580. Next one, 2.37 times 10. So you go over, it's going to go up 1 spot. So now it's 27.3. Ooh, 1.264 times 1,000. There are 3 zeros, 1, 2, and 3. We go over 3 spots, 1, 2, and 3. So now I have 1,264. 6.2 times 1 is identity property. So that automatically means it's still going to be 6.2. There's 1 0 in that one, so it goes over to 1 spot, so it becomes 90.1. 1 0 goes over 1 more spot, so it's 187. So in essence, in this section, you count the number of zeros, and that's how many digits you move it to the right. Just as a little sidebar, 10 equals 10 to the first power. 100 is 10 times 10, so 10 to the second power. That means that's 2 zeros. And if you see in the assignments 1,000, that's 10 to the third power. If you see exponents, that's telling you how many zeros there are. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, and 1. Some of these problems will be found within your Google Classroom on a Google form. So I'd like you to answer those so that I can check that you have understanding. And then we'll come back in our next session and review those answers. Remember, the best way to get these interventions is in person with your teacher and your peers to make meaning. These videos are intended for students that were absent or wanted a little additional review. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at mireland@sagechipschool.net. I also want to wish you all a minogijigad minwa pamapi.